Pasquino from the footballguys.com is in with your fantasy football questions. If you have a question for Jeff Pasquino, hit us up on the Dubell Lumber text board, 609-403-0973. A lot of teams on the bye this week, so make sure you get your bye week players out if you did not do that already. I'm one of those guys who had a bye week guy last night on my bench, had a guy get ruled out today, and have another guy as a bye week player on my bench as well. So I got to drop one of my guys because we have roster limitations. So don't get stuck in that situation if you're out there. Pay attention, get your lineup set, because there are a lot of prominent players out as we bring Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com in for this week's Fantasy Focus. Jeff, how are you, sir?
Doing well. How you doing, Mike?
Doing all right. We're at the halfway point of the season. We got a lot of injuries. We saw guys that, hey, maybe you thought earlier in the year were going to be big-time players. Maybe they haven't materialized. Guys that maybe you didn't think much of have kind of come, into the forefront here. It seems like every year that seems to happen. But let's take a look at some of the bigger stories this week as we take a look at some of the quarterback spots around the league, because we got some big quarterbacks out. And let's start with the big one, Philadelphia and Dallas. You like Dak Prescott this week against Philly. Is Dak Prescott a fantasy quarterback?
I think they're still going to run with Elliott. That's what they really want to do. It's going to be battle rookie quarterbacks. That's when the Philadelphia defense has been pretty strong, but their weak spot is running versus the pass. Dez Bryant is back, but I still think they want to limit Prescott. So I wouldn't throw him in too much, but again, bye weeks, you may need them.
Yeah, a lot of bye weeks out there. And how about Russell Wilson this week taking on the Saints?
I think that's a good matchup. The problem with Wilson this year is he's just not running. He doesn't look healthy in the pocket there. But you've got Jimmy Graham going back to New Orleans. I think there's a good narrative there for him to get a touchdown. So Wilson's in play. That could be a shootout this week.
All right. This week you got another interesting matchup because it's Jameis Winston going up against the Raiders, and he had his best game of the season last week.
He did, but, he played San Francisco, so that'll do that for you. But now Oakland, they're not much better against the pass. The one thing to note about Oakland, they did not fly back between games. They had consecutive games in Florida that stayed there this week. But Winston looks like a good option this week. I think he's going to connect with Evans and Quiz Rogers out of the backfield.
All right. Don't forget, a lot of us buys this week, guys like Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Flacco, so make sure you get those guys out. Running back, we got a lot of running backs to go over, a lot of questions about running backs. If you have a fantasy football question for Jeff, 609-403-0973. Well, you can't use Jay Ajayi this week. He's on a bye. So all the Ajayi people out there who this week are wondering, what do I do with him? Foster retired, so he's the main guy out there. So next week for Ajayi, all those guys who sent us questions the last couple of weeks. But how about let's go to Devontae Booker is a big pickup this week because some injury problems out in Denver.
Yeah, hopefully he was still available in your league. A lot of people have already been picking him up on the recommendations, but he's a top 10 running back. There's lots of questions about Anderson, when he's going to come back, if he's going to come back this year. Booker is going to be the number one guy for Denver for the foreseeable future, and he's immediate top 10 running back the rest of the way.
All right. How about Jaquiz Rogers? Another week for him for Tampa Bay. You wonder what's going to happen when Martin's ready. He's played pretty well.
He has. In Tampa Bay, they've already been through their bye, so it's just a matter of week to week for Doug Martin. We're not really sure what the deal is, but until he's ready, Rodgers is the guy, and you got to go with Quiz in that backfield. He's the only man they really have. Peyton Barber he's only a filler option late in the game.
McKinnon might not play. Asiata, good start Monday night.
You're stealing my thunder for later. That was the guy I was going to drop. But Asiata is the top guy from Minnesota. I think that's the guy. I would love him to pair him with the defense for the Vikings. That's the top defense this week.
Ty Montgomery, I don't know if he's a wideout or a running back in your leagues, but do you need to get him in your lineup?
Yeah, I think you do, especially in full PPR leagues. He's definitely a solid option. As a wide receiver, he gets a lot of volume, and if you can slot him in as a wide receiver instead of a running back, that's the best option to maximize value in your lineup.
Okay, give us the lowdown on the Bears running back situation.
Avoid it. That's probably the short answer, but I think that I still like Howard the most. Langford's getting healthier. It's a mess. Now, Jay Cutler is back in the backfield, so I'm not sure that improves things. I would avoid the Bears if at all possible. I would actually trade Meredith if you could.
All right. Also, Kadeem Carey is in the mix there, too. A little three-headed monster look, but they're up against Minnesota, so tough spot there. All right, let's look at the wideouts here. How about let's go with Terrell Pryor up against that Jets team. I know Cleveland has a lot of quarterback issues, but are you still going with Pryor?
Well, I think they're getting their best quarterback option back now with McCown. So I like Pryor. He is their number one. I think it's a good pairing between the two. Don't be surprised if McCown throws for 300 yards, and Cleveland has a shot at their first win this week.
Got a lot of questions coming in for Jeff. If you have a fantasy football question, text right now, 609-403-0973 on the Dubell Lumber text board. All right, Jeff, how about Deshaun Jackson? What are you telling those owners? He's not even having a good year, but a lot of buys this week, but he's questionable. What are you telling the D-Jack guys?
Well, you're really reaching for guys this week with 6 teams off. So if you got him, you probably got to throw him out there. It's not a great matchup. He's not 100% healthy, but he's a wide receiver 3 flex guy, but he's really more of a home run hit or miss kind of receiver. So kind of hope for the best.
How about Stephon Diggs? I mean, he came out with a bang, but not much the last couple of weeks, and even last week against the Eagles didn't do anything. Diggs has been a guy that big name early, but hasn't really lived up to it.
Yeah, I think that Bradford hasn't really thrown that much, and they've had success with defense in the ground game, so it hasn't been really asked for. He was hurt a little bit, but I think you're going to see him more utilized in the next couple of weeks and get back to being a wide receiver 2-3 option.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, right here on the Sports Bash. Every week we answer your fantasy football questions. Let's get them right now. If you have a question, 609-403-0973. A lot of questions this week for you, Jeff. Here's one. Should I have faith in Jamal Charles? He's out, right?
He is. He's out again this week, so it's all Spencer Ware. And you got to hold Charles for value if you can, but it gets tricky when you have roster limits.
Don't use Jamal Charles if you have Spencer Ware like I do. Let's go with him. All right, Kirk Cousins, Chris Thompson. Will those guys be plays this week for the Redskins?
Kirk Cousins, borderline quarterback 1. Chris Thompson, no. I don't like that backfield at all.
Yeah, Chris Thompson. Kelly's out there. Don't forget, though, Matt Jones is hurt. All right, here's one for you. Travis Benjamin LaShawn McCoy's out, so you got to go Benjamin, right? No question.
Yeah, no question there.
Dez Fitzgerald, Devontae Adams, or Ty Montgomery. You got to bench one of those guys. Dez Bryant, Larry Fitz, Devontae Adams, or Ty Montgomery. One goes to the bench.
I bench Devontae Adams. He's just not. He's not consistent enough.
All right, stacked at running back, Ware or Booker. That's a standard scoring league. Booker, you just mentioned. You think top 10?
Yeah, but I have Ware top 5, so I go Ware this week.
There you go. All right, how about Dez Bryant? Is he worth starting this week?
I guess the Eagles. Again, I don't think they have to throw. I think they're going to work him in. I think he's a viable option, but I think he's more like a wide receiver too.
Asiata, Devontae Adams, or Willie Snead as a flex player?
I like Asiata. He's really the whole backfield for Minnesota this week.
All right. How about Booker, Michael Freeman? Booker, Booker, Freeman, or Gordon? Who do you sit?
Hey, he may have meant Michael and Freeman.
Yes.
I think you sit Gordon. I think that the Denver defense is going to shut down San Diego a lot this week.
All right. Do I start Montgomery? That's Ty Montgomery, or Quincy Enunwa, the wide receiver out with the Jets?
Enunwa has a good matchup, but you got to start Montgomery.
Quarterback question for Jeff: Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins?
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's an easy one there. Slam dunker. All right, bottom of the barrel bye week guys. Looks like here: Chris Hogan or Philip Dorsett at wide receiver.
I would not use Dorsett. You've got guys coming back for the Colts. So you've got Moncrief coming back. So I would go with whichever the other guy was.
Chris Hogan, New England, obviously. How about Jermaine Kearse? Got another question on wide receiver there. Is he a guy, says, I need a pickup this week. Jermaine Kearse is on the wire. Should I go get him?
No, he doesn't get enough targets. That's going to be feeding Baldwin and Jimmy Graham for Seattle.
All right, don't forget, a lot of bye weeks out there. Get your guys out. Here's a tight end question for you. Kyle Rudolph or Zach Ertz this week?
I like Rudolph. I like a lot of tight ends this week. If you're looking to pick up guys and start 2, I would start 2 or 3 tight ends this week.
I know Ajayi's on a bye, but I know last week we kind of said, hey, he's chasing points, but are you starting to buy him now?
I think you have to, especially with the bye weeks and guys falling by the wayside. He's a running back 2/flex.
All right, then we got the fantasy focus for you every week at this time. Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. We'll get a couple more questions before Jeff gives you the rundown of guys he likes, Asiata or Forte.
Oh, I love Forte against Cleveland this week.
Which Bear running back, Howard or Carey?
Howard.
There you go. All right, Jeff, give us the rundown of some players you like for week number 8.
A couple of sleepers. I think that we mentioned Asiata. I think Moncrief is a good option for the Colts. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And I like a lot of the tight ends this week. And again, if I'm going to scrape the bottom of the barrel, look for a couple of tight ends. Jack Doyle, Cameron Brate for Tampa Bay. That's pretty much the length of the list. It's pretty thin this week.
Sure is. A lot of buys, a lot of good teams on a buy. Man, I was looking to pick up Brian Quick, and I said, uh-oh, bye week for the Rams. That's how bad I am at wide receiver. All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. If you have fantasy football questions each and every week at this time, Jeff is in with the latest on all the Week 8 action. Thanks, pal.
Thanks. Enjoy the games.